Welcome to Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kale, and here's welcome to the solstice and what's being called the Great Conjunction, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which took place yesterday in Aquarius. And we're past this conjunction, and we're entering a whole new world. We are also in the Sagittarius new moon cycle, which was a total solar eclipse, and in one sense, Saturn was in Aquarius between March 21st and the end of June. So we've been in this territory. That was 21st March is when, we saw globally, because of COVID, the world went into lockdown. And now it seems like the lockdowns are increasing again around the world. I'm not getting into the mundane astrology, but the important thing to remember is that although we've been here before in one sense, now Jupiter is in Aquarius and there's hope. Jupiter is the ruler of this new moon cycle that we're in, Sagittarius new moon cycle, and it is the great benefic in astrology. It's known as the great benefic because its influence is benevolent. And for the past year, Jupiter was in Capricorn, where it's in its fall, and it's not easy for Jupiter to express its energy and manifest its full potential in Capricorn, where there's a sense of restriction, while Jupiter is a very expansive planet and expansive energy. Now, in the sign of Aquarius, Jupiter, although Aquarius is also still a Saturn-ruled sign, traditionally Saturn-ruled sign, it is also the sign that represents freedom, and Jupiter represents freedom. So there is definitely a sense of we are moving through a gateway. Saturn represents gateways, but there is hope now, and there is a new vision that's dawning within you and in the world. This Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, and I've read a lot about, not a lot, but, seeing a lot of posts about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, and it's definitely an important moment in our history collectively, given that this is happening in Aquarius, which is a sign of the collective as well as the individual. But significantly, this conjunction happens once every 20 years. I know, I'm reading that the last time it happened was in 1400 something, but that was in Aquarius. But in general, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happens every 20 years. The last time it occurred was in 2000 in Taurus. Before that, it was in 1980 in Libra. And the next time it takes place will be another 20 years, or 2040. So if you're old enough, it would help to look back to what was unfolding in 2000 and then 1980 in those houses and in your chart, Libra, Taurus, and that'll give you a sense of the kind of gateway that you're now moving into, and what's setting the stage for this next chapter in your life, especially in the area of your life ruled by Aquarius. Jupiter and Saturn are both outer planets, and so this is the cultural moment. This is a generational aspect, and if Saturn represents time, Jupiter represents global affairs. So this is a moment in time, culturally, historically, certainly. And with Aquarius, on a very mundane level, you can think of how we relate with groups is changing. So definitely social media and how we network with others, all of that is changing now, and there's likely to be new rules. And this is all paving the way for Pluto, which will enter Aquarius in 2023. So, and Saturn, Jupiter have been in Capricorn along with Pluto. So these next 2-3 years that we're moving through, there's a total transformation that's underway in the area in Capricorn, and Jupiter and Saturn are now paving the way for this new world to come in. So it's important that we move through consciously, because once Pluto enters Aquarius, especially on the internet, things are changing. But without getting into the mundane astrology too much, I prefer to, as you know, focus on more the personal humanistic aspect of the astrology, because that's where I feel like we can affect most change. Change always comes from inside out. And there is an awakening of consciousness that's taking place now. We are at the solstice. So, in the chart for this conjunction, because in astrology, why do we look at a chart? Because a chart holds the seed for the moment that then unfolds. So, in the chart for this conjunction, the sun is at the solstice, and the sun is, Jupiter and Saturn are outer planets which speak of the collective and a greater, they'll speak of collective aspects and collective transits. But then when you have the sun in Capricorn now at the solstice, it ties in this conjunction, and whatever's happening in the world is coming to your doorstep. So there's a sense that, we're learning how connected we are with others in our world, and you're not unaffected, and you're not an island, you're not isolated from, nothing happens in a vacuum. So we're learning our interconnectedness with each other. And to me, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction seems to be a great equalizing force. So, we're learning, and we're going to learn that no one is better or worse, higher or lower than you. People may hold positions of authority, but ultimately we're all just human. And we're all equal. We're all unique in our own way. That's very Aquarian. But we're all the same in the sense of just being sentient beings with the ability to feel. And so we're learning now, wherever you have Aquarius in your chart, and if you're old enough, look at what was going on 30 years ago when Saturn was last in Aquarius. You're coming full circle now, and this is a chance to, you've grown in awareness, in wisdom, your experiences have taught you things, and now this is a chance to move forward and break free of old patterns. We are also tomorrow, Mars will be exactly square Pluto, and Mars is now in its third and final shadow phase, clearing this territory for the third and final time. And the past few months especially have taught you a lot about, the next few days called for deep self-awareness, because this Mars-Pluto square, as you may know, over the past 4 months, you've been learning a lot about yourself, about your triggers, your wounds, what motivates you, what drives you, what triggers you, and now, and how Mars is a hot and fiery planet. It's known as the warrior, but Mars can, if not channeled well, can lead to anger, but anger is a destructive force unless you can channel it with awareness. It's like fire, you can warm yourself by it, or you can burn the house down. So it requires awareness to deal with Mars, especially Mars in Aries. And Mars in Aries is speaking of the self. So I'm going around a little bit, but coming back, this Mars square Pluto aspect is, active, approaching in this chart for the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So I'm going to try and bring it back home, which is, there's a vision dawning within you, but it requires us to drop our egos and recognize that life is happening through you. If Saturn represents our mortal limits and our physical reality, in a sense, Jupiter is the sign of God and divinity, and there's a divine consciousness and divine vision that's birthing within us and within each of us individually. And it's a matter of you now, it starts with self-acceptance. Then you can extend that to others in your world, and recognizing that you're entering a world where, it's a new world. So in one sense, we're having to carve our own path. So the road has not been laid out. And your experiences, your whole life has led to this moment. So everything that you've learned, and what you're now creating or trying to manifest, you have the tools necessary to bring a vision to life. And the more this is a vision that can, this is not just in Aquarius, the suggestion is that this is not just a personal vision, this is something that can uplift and better the lives of everyone around you. So it's a matter of having faith in that, and then trusting that the right resources, connections, you can draw them or be drawn to them. Aquarian energy asks for detachment above all. It's a fixed sign, it's a fixed air sign. And so there may be, even if things seem up in the air, it's a matter of, again, with Saturn, it's all about timing. So it's having faith and trusting in divine timing, in a sense, that things are in motion. But now with this Mars square Pluto in the chart and the Sun at the solstice, it's more about being and then taking constructive action, being moved to constructive action rather than feeling the need to do something, because then life is happening through you and you're channeling a greater force without letting your ego, in a sense, get in the way and prevent your progress. With Jupiter-Saturn, it's important to remember humility precedes greatness. Jupiter can expand things and magnify things. And, over the course of the year, definitely in the area of your life ruled by Aquarius, there are monumental, even right now, pay attention to what's going on there, because you're laying the foundation for something. And so Jupiter can expand things, and there's a sense of greatness and bigness with Jupiter. But Saturn represents gateways and, it takes humility, asks for humility above all. So you need to be humble to be able to move through that gateway. So remember that as well, because especially, again, if you think of social media and people with large followings, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also recognizing that you're still equal with everyone else, because I see with Saturn-Uranus squares coming up next year, I think there's going to be a lot of shake-ups on that front for sure. Just things coming to light about some of these accounts that we have. And I'm not necessarily speaking of astrology accounts, I'm just speaking of social media in general. So I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone, just saying. It's more that what's coming up over the coming year and what's happening right now, look to what was going on and look back to what was going on in 2000 in your life, because the seeds of what's happening now was sown back then, in a sense. And 2000 brought a major pivotal point. And then, of course, you can look back 20 years. 77 was, before that, there was Saturn-Uranus squares. But let's just stick with 2000. It was a pivotal moment. Life was shifting. The landscape of your life was shifting in a very physical way, in terms of, whether in terms of relationships or physical moves or something that changed your life physically, altered your life, the physical circumstances of your life. And that was a turning point in your life. Now, when it's like we're reaching the next turning point from then, and life is shifting gears again. Well, gears as in, it's more of a pivot. We're turning a corner again. So that may give you a clue and some insight into what might be coming up over the coming year. But for now, I've gone on for 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop now. And I'm going to do another video for the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, and maybe I'll do Aries to Pisces. But I need to get done with my annuals first, so I'll do it and when I have the time. I really wanted to just pop my head out and make a quick video, say happy solstice and for this conjunction. So I'm going to say more about the conjunction, and I'll have a part 2 of the video coming up. But move in awareness as you move over the coming days, especially tomorrow with Mars square Pluto. Avoid projecting the energy. If there's any sense of angst or anger or frustration, this is now a chance to really harness your power. And the past few months have been an enormous time of growth. So this is a chance to embody your lessons and really reclaim your power in a situation where you felt powerless or you felt like you've been struggling against something. And that really comes with letting go and detachment, rather than pushing something because you're likely to just push it over the edge. Move slowly. And yeah, coming back, I'll wrap up the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction by saying that, as I was saying earlier, we are carving a new path, and what's unfolding now requires you to have faith in yourself and have more self-acceptance and recognize your own authority in your life, because ultimately we're all equal and we're all trying to figure it out. Older, younger, everyone's is living their life, and wisdom just comes through your experiences. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. That's not the point. So it's more now that you are more accepting of your own unique gifts, talents, and more accepting of your own being. And that is then inspiring and can inspire others to be themselves and be liberated to be themselves. So this is that awakening where the liberation doesn't come from outside forces. It's an inner liberation. It's you giving yourself permission to be wholly yourself and to express yourself wholly. So with that, then you can create something that ultimately not only stands the test of time, but serves to not only better your life, but lives of those around you. So yeah, I'm going to stop there for now. But I should have said this in the beginning, but I'm going to say it now. I finally launched my Patreon page. So if you find these videos useful, if you're still watching, thank you. And if you find these videos useful, I would appreciate any support that you can give, very much so. I am going to add more benefits to the tiers in the new year. Right now, my energy is taken up with my annuals, but anything you can do to support, I'm very grateful for. And I'll be back with you very soon. I'll try to be back around Christmas. So until then, happy holidays, be well, and I'll catch you soon. Bye for now.